All right, so here we go. It's the week before Dominican. We've got Mr. Brennan Fulkerson. I like to bring Brennan on and just capture his thoughts. I think it's no secret. Everybody thinks very highly of Brennan. He's shattering some beliefs, that we've had in our business, and he's pacing to run the most profitable ICL in history. So he's got to catch 2.975 million. Brennan, just a quick call out. You think you're going to hit 2.975 plus?
It's going to take a strong finish to the year, but that should be within reach for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, Q4 for you, something tells me is going to be a pretty awesome Q4. So I'm going to pass the baton to you, and I'm sure we're going to have a few questions as you're telling us some of the secret sauce happening in Miami. So over to you.
Sweet. Yeah, so I'll start by just sharing screen because I think there's a lot of cool stuff happening, and I want to start by sharing this. This was this week. So you take a look. I mean, there's 9,000 of overrides, but if you get rid of the overrides, we had a $82,000 wire this week. So minus the 9,000 overrides, it was a $73,000 wire. So pretty good. Just quick profitability on that is about 30 grand of owner's profit in a week. So yeah, I think, just whatever beliefs that are out there, and if there are any limiting beliefs, I think it's important to share and show these things because I don't know. I just remember early on, I wanted to see it to believe it. And a lot of times you hear it, but you don't really actually see it. So I always told myself if I got to that position one day, I would share it with people because I think the right people are turned on by that sort of information as opposed to turned off. So yeah, so I obviously we've sustained success for a little period of time here, and I get asked often, what are the secrets or what's the formula, and I've been asked so often that I felt like putting pen to paper and really writing down, some things that I think are just super fundamental in running a high performance office or like a high performance machine. And so kind of want to take you guys through like just 10 quick points that I think are really important to running a really great, high profitable office that also spits out opportunities. So the first one that I will start with today. So first of all, I have really four pillars. So I guess I should start there. And if you guys have heard me talk, I've mentioned these all the time, but it's learn, earn, fun, and opportunity, right? Those are the four main things that I focus on every single day that are, in my opinion, the keys to rep retention. You want your guys every day to come in, they're going to learn something. You want them to earn, you want them to make great money while they're working with you. You want them to have a whole hell of a lot of fun while they're working with you. And you want to be able to provide opportunity in both the non-traditional and traditional sense. The traditional sense is providing opportunity, which means building a team and getting to ownership. The non-traditional sense, I think, is the fact that people get to work with you, being an entrepreneur and someone that has the courage to run your own business. Regardless of how well you're doing in business, you're doing something that I would argue millions of people envy and that they want to do. And the fact that you have the courage to do it, working with you every day is an opportunity, if as long as you see yourself that way. And so for me, it's learn, earn, fun, and opportunity. But then really getting into like the nuts and bolts of running an ICL, I jotted down, I think, 10 points here that I think are just super duper important to running a high powered office. So let's start with them. So the first one to me is systems. I think you have to have clearly defined systems. And the way that I define a system is something that has to be written down, put on a piece of paper, and can be handed to somebody. If it can't be written down and put on a piece of paper and handed to somebody, it's not a system. Think of it maybe like a playbook or, how to do an interview or, hey, how to train a new guy in the field. Um, if you can print it out, put it on paper and hand it to somebody, that, in my opinion, is a system. So, you're looking at the fours, fives, and eights. That's kind of the common stuff that we all know. I'm talking about your sales pitch where everybody, is doing their intro the same way, the short story the same way, they overturn objections the same way. The second round interview pitch everyone's doing, even when you get to having assistant managers, how to do a proper call to hire, a training checklist, really getting as many systems put in place as possible will allow you to be replicable and will allow you to scale quickly. That way, the telephone game that's played in your office isn't like, well, I heard it from this person how to do it, who heard it from that person, who heard it from that person. It's just a piece of paper that's printed out and everybody's on the same page, literally and figuratively. So that's number one to me is having clearly defined systems in every aspect of running your office. The second one is high standards. To me, this is like a non-negotiable, and I'm so shocked at how many people don't hold the line on a high standard. A high standard for sales performance to me is two functions. One, it protects the profitability of the business. The higher the standard I have, the more money everyone's going to be making, including myself. But on the flip side, you have cost of living is going up, inflation is crazy. And to me, I feel like you morally and ethically owe it to your people to hold a high standard because you don't want to see I don't want to see my people struggle. I don't want to see people have to like barely make ends meet. I want my guys to be able to make enough money to, live in their own apartment, to pay their bills, and to ideally have a little bit left put away to where we can have conversations around, investing or putting your money to work. And that just doesn't happen in offices that have really low standards. So holding the line on a high standard. Standard is not just, by the way, it's not just a sales production. It's also going to be, I'm talking like your image, the dress code of your office. When somebody comes into your office wearing jeans or, Crocs or Vans, are you just allowing that and just pretending like it doesn't exist? Or are you having a conversation? Are you having one of your top people have that conversation? Are you upholding the image and dress code of your office, right? Sharp people want to work with sharp, plain and simple. And sharp people want to be held accountable. Sharp people want to be held to a high standard. And when you just let things slide, it will work in the sense that it'll keep guys around. But what it's going to do is it's going to turn off and turn away the sharp, really great people that we all want inside of our offices. The other thing I would just as a side note to high standards as well, depending on the program that you're on, I would recommend tying the opportunity, the interviewing opportunity standard to the quality metrics of the program or campaign that you're on. It's not just about a sales goal, it's about delivering a result with integrity. So in tying a quality metric to the sales standard, I think is also equally important as well to driving and keeping a high standard in your office. You'll save yourself a lot of pain down the road by tying quality metrics to performance. That way you don't get a phone call one day and, there's some shiciness going on in your office. That data is being used to drive behavior. So that's number two. The third one I think is competition. To me, it's one of the foundational pieces of our business. There's competition inside of, the traditional sense of daily competition where two reps go head to head, or they do Thursday throwdowns or whatever. I think we're all really familiar with those levels of competition, but I even like medium to long term sort of competitions. Things like for quarter four, the high roller for quarter four gets to go on a trip or a bonus or something like that. I also think of competition in the sense of having multiple team builders. Probably the best competition you can create in your office is having multiple guys building teams at the exact same time. What happens is when multiple teams are building, they're going to compete with headcount, they're going to compete with revenue, and it gets your best people consistently activated to driving behavior on their teams, which in turn is driving behavior in your business and in your office. Where I see some people go wrong is, there's really not a lot of competition. They have one really great guy or one really good rep in their office, and all they do is build their entire office through that person, which doesn't create that tension. I want to create tension where it's like, hey, you're not all that. You have a lot of other people that are competing to push themselves and the guys that are around them. The other part that you can create competition on too, and it's very subtle, but just creating, we do a 4-week trend of payment. So, best rep to worst rep is ranked, number one to number whatever, 60 or 70. And it's based on dollars paid. It's not based on, foo-foo money that's thrown up on GroupMe or done in the field. It's what's actually getting paid out. And when guys come in and see where they stack up in the office, we'll create some competition because no one likes seeing their name near the bottom of a trend. So that was the third one. So if we're keeping track so far, first one we got is clearly defined systems. Second one is high standards. Third one, competition. We're going to move into the fourth one here. The fourth one is accountability. I think it is really, really important if you guys are not doing goals or doing accountability at the beginning of your sales week, you are missing a gigantic opportunity to drive behavior. Admittedly, these days I don't run goals as often as I used to, just because we have a lot of other owners and assistant managers in our office. But I did run goals this last week, and I think we bottom lined 10 entry levels, maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that range. We just have a group of entry levels right now that have been with us for a while. Like I'm talking 6, 7, 8 weeks, and are just hanging out in limbo land. Like they're not doing enough to get promoted, but they're also not doing enough to get fired. And so we just kind of collectively decided during goals hey buddy, like we need you on the metrics to get promoted this week. And if you're not on the metrics, we're gonna have to part ways. Nothing personal. We like you. We want to see you win and we want you to make great money. And if you're not able to do that, you got to be on the minimum standard this week in order to maintain employment. And magically, all of them, almost all of them, except for maybe one this week, are on pace or have already hit that goal, and we still have 3 selling days left. No surprise, when you hold somebody's ass to the flame, they tend to move with a little bit more intention and urgency. And 2 weeks ago, Len's I bottom lined a guy on Mike's team in our office named Larry, who had been below standards 3 weeks in a row. And Len basically just told him straight up, man, if you don't get it done this week, you're out. And the guy hit alpha. He didn't even hit the minimum standard or the leadership standard. He hit the alpha standard. And he really stepped up and, is on pace to get promoted this week. He has to back it up back-to-back weeks. But, just those sort of critical public accountabilities are just so crucial to driving performance. The other things that you can do as well is have a performance board in your office. I'm always shocked when I like visit other offices and I'm like, hey, where's the performance board? And they're like, performance what? And I'm like, performance board, like where you can see where everyone's at in the office, their daily production, where it's on full display for everybody to see. Something really cheap. It's not that much money to invest in. It's like $100, but that $100 investment to put a performance board up in your office will make you thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, in my opinion. Other than that, I think get really good at explaining the why behind the what when it comes to the goals in your office. So I explained why 900 is the minimum standard. I explained why 1200 is the leadership standard. I explained why alpha is $1,500 a week. I explained it's for you and for us. It's to protect the profitability of the business, but it's also for you to live a great life. If you're making below $900 a week here, there's other opportunities and other jobs that are in this market that are going to pay you more for far less work. And you're better off doing something like that than working inside of my company where you're going to struggle. So, when you walk through everyone, the why behind the what, people don't play a guessing game and go, oh, Brennan's just in it for the money. Certainly that is part of it, but the other part of it genuinely is I want my people that work for me to live a great life and to make great money, right? So that's number 4. Number 5 here, that's a key one. I got owner's vision, enthusiasm, and example. Knowing what you do and why you do it justifies what we do. So I'll say that again. Knowing why you do what you do and where you're going justifies what we do. If you're trying to sell people on what we do, you're going to struggle with bringing on great people into our company. I was a Division I athlete. I was someone that, got a marketing degree. I was a sharp candidate. I certainly didn't go to school and play, baseball at a high level to stand in a Walmart and sell DirecTV. But I did it because where the company was going, the leadership of Sebastian's office, and what I felt like I was a part of was way more important and way cooler to me than the what we do on a daily basis. So certainly, when you're explaining to a candidate, you do want to explain what we do. It's just really important you have a vision, and it's really important you know where you're going and what the heck you're trying to build, and articulating that so that it justifies what we do on a day-to-day basis. I think it's really important people want to be a part of something. I think now more than ever, like loneliness levels are at the all-time high, with like depression and kids that are part of Gen Z are reporting like the highest levels of loneliness ever. And one of the things we're amazing at is creating community and real relationships and friendships. And so I think if you do a great job with getting yourself right and casting the vision and articulating your business properly, it'll reel people in because we offer something that, people are genuinely really searching for. And then I would just say talk big game. I mean, as long as as long as you have real goals and you know what you're after, don't be afraid to share it and talk big game. Like one day we're going to get out of this tiny office. One day we're going to be at the top of the rankings. One day we're going to whatever that looks like for you, get crystal clear on what you're wanting to build and what you want to be a part of. I mean, lately what I tell my guys is we're going to have a glass building in downtown Fort Lauderdale that's going to be right on the ocean. And the high roller of the day goes with me out on the yacht to go fishing. I say that shit because that's literally my intention down the road is I would love to run a business that can do that, right? We're not there yet, but that vision's clear in my mind. When I share that with people, people get excited. They're like, hell yeah, that would be amazing. Get out of this place. We can be in a glass building overlooking the ocean, go fishing, get the day off. That sounds amazing, right? So casting vision about what you want to be, and we have a hashtag 50 cities in 5 years. That's something that, we're all shooting for in our office to be able to build and grow an organization. So your vision, your enthusiasm, your example is massively important to how well your people and your organization will do. Number six. All right, so let's keep it going here. Under the pillars of learn, earn, fun, and opportunity, this one's going to fall under the the learn category. Number six is add twice as much value to your people as you ever take. My general philosophy as an owner is I work for my people. I work to serve them. I work to develop them and take care of them as if they were my own like family. The only time in which somebody works for me is when they're doing things that jeopardize the integrity or the health of the business. That's the only time you work for me. So if you're lying to customers, if you're showing up late, if you're no call, no showing, the usual things that we see, then people work for you. Like you work for me. But as long as I have guys that are showing up every day, they're happy, they're motivated, they're making great money, they're looking to grow and develop, my goal is to serve them. So my underlining value is to add twice as much value to my people on a daily basis as I ever take, right? Because if people are going to go out and bust their butt in the field, and be out in a store or, in their territory for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, the time that they're in the office and that they get with me needs to be impactful. I need to be making like conscious deposits in developing them. Something really interesting that you guys should all ask in your office. Tomorrow in your office, ask your guys if they know the difference between a debit and credit card. I asked that question a handful of weeks ago, and about half of the hands went up that they did not know the difference between a debit or credit card, which to me was shocking. But that tells you where our educational system is at and what they're doing to teach. So running a meeting on the difference between a debit and a credit card makes a massive impact and as an aha moment for somebody in a way that you can add value to your people that has nothing to do with like selling, training, developing, being an owner. It has nothing to do with that. It's just adding to their quality of life so that they can become a better human being. So if you do that, I think that's going to really, really go a long ways in getting you a lot of bang for your buck with the people that you bring on to your team. All right, so now we're going to number seven here, and then hopefully we'll have some time for Q&A. Number seven is you have to have white rabbits, plain and simple. You have to have people that are setting the pace in your office. If you don't, you're going to struggle forever. Just let's the lid is whatever people see, right? So to me, I define a white rabbit. In the old days, I would say is $1,000 a week. That's like the minimum standard for a white rabbit. My personal preference is having somebody now doing at least $2,000 a week. $2,000 a week to me now is a white rabbit. But if you're, not if that could seem eons away if your top guy is doing $500 or $600. So I would say at least someone doing $1,000 a week, but preferably someone doing $2,000 a week, and ideally two people, not just one. The one white rabbit is easy for everyone in the office to say like, oh, that's just Brennan. Oh, that's just Jamie. Oh, that's just Rachel. When you have multiple people doing it, it lifts limiting beliefs in a really, really big way. And so if you don't have that, here's the problem. You bring on people and you hire them into your company, they're only going to do what they see. So if they see the top guy doing 800, they think 600 is good. Like, oh, that's pretty close to what the top guy is doing, right? But if they see someone doing 2,500 or 3,000 a week, it's crazy. We were going through goals this past week, and I would say 60% of the office made over $1,500, and a good chunk of people, probably 20% made over 2,000. And we're going to people on their first week, like literally their first week working in our company. I go, what's your goal this week? And they go, 1,500, but like, I really want to do 2K. And do you think they just magically came up with that? No, they saw everyone else going around getting their goal and what they did for the week. And then they formulated what their goal was based on what they saw everybody else in the office doing. So, sometimes we say recruiting fixes all, and that is true. But if you don't have a consistent white rabbit and someone really crushing the field, ideally, like I said, multiple people, the new guy coming in is going to just ideally, not ideally, but they're going to do what they see. Unless you just hire the one magical person, the Sebastian out of nowhere that just comes in and totally changes the dynamic of your office. It's just you're going to be waiting a really, really long time. So a couple strategies to do that. If you don't have that in your office, there's two recommendations I have. Number one is get in the field personally and do it yourself and show everybody how easy it is. If you're like, geez, Brennan, I don't really want to do that. That's not really my goal. I don't really want to go back to the field. Your other options are get a road trip in town with some studs that can come into your market and just murder it, or send your guys out on a road trip to an office like mine where they're going to see everybody winning, and it will totally destroy any limiting beliefs that the guys may have. So those are really your only options to get out of that sort of position. Number 8 is respect your tier. I don't know if we're all familiar with the tier system, the tiers of ownership. You have tier one, tier two, tier three, tier four. Tier four is like you're getting under 10K wires. You only have a handful of leaders in your office. You're more or less breaking even every week, sometimes making money, sometimes losing money. If you're in tier four, you need to be in grind mode. You need to be in field mode. Tier four to me is all field mode. I mean, you're obviously recruiting, but you got to be out there generating money for your business. You're the LeBron James of your business, and for you not to be in the field generating money is a massive disrespect and disservice to your business. Like, we all start tier four. That's the beautiful part of our business is everyone starts tier four, and it's decisions that you make in tier four dictate whether or not you ever move out of that tier or ever sniff tier one. Tier four is where you're going to lay the foundation for what's going to be expected into your company. You're going to, guys are going to grind. We're going to make great money. I'm in the trenches with you. We're going to make shit happen. Tier four is like straight field mode. That's like my main focus. Tier three, once you move up to tier three, you're usually anywhere between like 10 and 15K wires. And to me, that's like the train the trainer phase. That's where you have a couple guys in your office that are probably doing well and that are, obviously producing at a decent level. But you still got to be out there because they likely aren't very good at training and developing people. So you still got to be out there to make money, A, but then B, you're training the trainer. You're teaching guys how to teach, and you're laying the foundation of having multiple builders inside of your office. And you usually, like I said, getting 10 to 15K wires, you're making decent money at tier three, but you haven't earned the right to be out of the field at tier three, in my opinion. And then tier two is, I call that the recruit phase, because at tier two, you're getting between 15 and 20K wires. You likely have like 10 or 15 guys inside of your office, which means you have some competent builders because it's unlikely you got to that level just on your own. So you have some guys that are doing really, really well. And that's the recruiting phase where you're really going to be dumping on recruiting to have multiple teams starting to build inside of your office. That's tier two. Tier two is really exciting. One of my favorite tiers. And then obviously the tier everyone's shooting for is tier one. Tier one is over a 20K wire with at least like 20 guys. You have a qualified assistant manager. You're making great money at tier one. And to me, that phase is the delegating, coaching, and empowering. And so many people delegate way too soon, like way too soon. Someone's a tier four owner, like, oh, I'm delegating that. Why are you delegating anything? You should be running everything. You should be running your sales training. You should be doing the recruiting. You should be out there with your guys. I'm just flabbergasted by how many people delegate way before they should. Tier one is where you really start to delegate, coach, and empower. You finally have multiple team builders. You have an assistant manager. Now you're delegating because someone's earned the right to get the delegated task, not because you're being a lazy, SOB and you don't want to do the work. So you're just delegating things that you don't want to do. But tier one is great because that's where you're going to be overpaid and underworked. And that's, ideally the goal that everyone wants to be able to get to. And then, tier zero would be like, 50K wires and above, and you're making insane money and providing opportunity. There should be another tier, but neither here nor there. Okay, number 9, play to win, not to lose. So here we go. That is playing offense. How many guys watch a sports game and a team goes up like a basketball game and they go up by like 25 or 30, and you're like, oh, they're going to blow them out. This game is like over. And then the team that was crushing the other team stops doing all the things they were doing in the first and second quarter, and they try to just hang on to the lead, or they put their subs in or their backups into the game, and all of a sudden that lead starts to go down and down and down and down and down. And what happened was, and you see teams lose that have huge leads. And what happens is they stopped playing offense and they started playing defense and trying not to lose. They try to just, oh gosh, like I hope I win. When you have momentum and you're doing well, you need to play, and then even when you're not doing well, you need to play offense. Like, I'm not holding on to people just to hold on to them. I'd rather have 4 people in my office, but 4 people that are the right guys, than have 14 people in my office with 10 of them that I absolutely hate and can't do shit with, right? Less is more. And I have no problem getting rid of somebody because I'm competent in my ability to hire, train, coach, and develop. And I believe that I can build out of any situation, right? Any market, any city, anywhere, any retail, any program. I don't care because I'm the best at what I do, right? And that's a belief you have to have in yourself, and the confidence that you got to build in yourself to not play scared. If you play scared in this business, you will lose. Like, I have no other way to put it, right? Do the thing you should be doing, but don't want to do. And that fear goes away massively. You want to believe in people, but you got to be clear with what's tolerated and what's not. Plain and simple. Like, look, I believe in you. I like you. But if X continues to happen, we're not going to be able to work together. Right? If I keep getting customer complaints, we're not going to be able to work together. If you keep showing up too late to the office, we're not going to be able to work together. If you lollygag to the field like you've been doing, we're not going to be able to work together, right? If you're not hitting the minimum standard for sales performance in our company, you're not going to be able to work together. You get really clear about what's allowed and what's not allowed. And it's not that you're going around being like a jerk and a hammer and just enforcing rules all day. You're just outlining the rules of the game. And then when somebody violates the rules, they'll just come in and shake your hand and they'll know like, yep, I screwed up. I broke the rules of the game and I got to go. And you're like, yep, all right, see ya, boom. Also in this level, I would say recruiting is the answer. You have 50 guys in your office, you're making killer money. What's the answer? Recruiting, get guys out, promote deals. You have one guy in your office and you're barely making any money. What's the answer? Recruiting, get yourself out of that position. Recruiting solves all. And if you have a hole in your recruiting game, energy flows where focus goes. You've got to put yourself in the game and get your hands dirty with recruiting so that you can build yourself out of any position that you're in. And then the last thing on this point is you want to be optimistic about where you're going, but you need to be real with where you're at. It's like, oh my gosh, like look at all this money I have in the bank, or what money I don't have in the bank. You want to be optimistic about the direction you're going in the business that you're building. You need to be real with where you're at. Like I have 5 guys, right? Like that could change tomorrow if half of them quit, and I would be in a really crappy position. So when you have 20, 30, 40, 50 guys, then it changes the game. But you got to get really real about where you're at. You need to open up your bank account. I don't care what your bank account looks like. You need to look at it every week. And that number needs to ideally be moving up. And if it's not, you need to get really real about why it's not and look to fix the holes in that bucket to make sure that you're getting your bank account as far away from zero as possible, which means you're protecting every dollar, right? And that doesn't mean you want to be stingy and cheap and all that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you need to be very real with where you're at because money buys you time. And then the last one is the philosophy around recruiting. It's quality over quantity, and ideally, it's quality in quantity, right? To me, every candidate's a no until they can prove to me that they're a yes. I'm incredibly clear in the interview process, who we are, what we do, how you get paid, the schedule, the hours. Like I'm very upfront, very transparent. I have a great way of putting it to make it sound really good, right? Because you could just say like, oh, it's draw against commission. Oh, it's working weekends and long hours. Like you could say all that and make it sound horrible, or you can say what we do and how we do it, and you can make it sound really cool, really fun, and really enticing. But it takes work. Do you practice pitch your own pitch in the mirror? Do you do it with other owners, or do you just show up and it's game time and the sharp guy is interviewing and you got to rip it and have a good pitch ready to go, right? I say be proud of who we are and what we're about and what we're building. This business can be an incredible thing. I mean, if you guys really think about it, you guys think about your own journeys, think about how much you've learned, think about how much you've grown, think about how much you've made. This has made massive impacts for me, and I'm sure it's made massive impacts for all of you. Get really excited about what we offer from not just a financial and opportunity standpoint, but just who you become as a person along that journey. And then, last part on this one is you got to remind yourself that people are interviewing for a job and not to be a business owner. I'll say that again. People are interviewing for a job and not to be a business owner. I don't go around preaching the opportunity. I don't go around telling everyone how they're going to run their own business one day and how they're going to make millions of dollars. I'd rather be about it than talk about it. And people can tell when they're around someone that's going places, that has vision, that has intensity, that has work ethic, and that has clarity. And to me, I'm not trying to sell anybody on any sort of opportunity. I want them to work for me because they think it's a great place to work, a fun person to learn from, and a great working environment. And then I want them to discover the fact that there's opportunity as we go. And then that becomes kind of like the cement that locks people in once they've discovered that. So those are my 10 points. I'll jam through them because I know some of you guys are taking notes. So I got clearly defined systems. We got high standards, competition, having accountability, ideally accountability board or goals, your own vision, enthusiasm, and example, adding twice as much value to your people than you ever take, making sure that you have multiple white rabbits in your office, respecting your tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, playing to win and not to lose, so playing offense. And then recruiting, you want to have quality over quantity and ideally quality in quantity. So there we go. Wow, 30 minutes on the dot. I monologued successfully for the entire length of this call, but hopefully that was some good content and stuff that you can all utilize and implement in your game to do well and crank $73,000 wires. Be fun stuff.
Well, Brennan, I always appreciate your preparation. I always know when I ask you to, come join, you're not just coming in like, hey guys, you open it up for Q&A. you diligently prepared. I mean, each one of those 10 bullet points could be a meeting in itself. Like, okay, systems, like what are systems? Standards. Why do people compromise their standards? I mean, everybody wants to have high standards, but why do we, lower that? So I think that's great. We get time maybe for a couple, maybe one or two questions if anybody's got anything fresh for Brennan.
You can ask me next week in the pool at Punta Cana in DR if you guys want.
Yeah, Dominican. I just thought of one thing, with systems. I'm like, I hear you say this every time, right? But I know, because obviously you're a systems guy, and you're like, listen, if it's not in writing, it's not a system. And just one little plug I want to throw for you guys, because I know a lot of people just don't do that. But I will say this: when you have to write, when you have to put the pen to paper, there is a magical process that actually happens. It makes you think and choose the right words carefully. And I've noticed people that actually do that process where, hey, it's got to be in writing. You usually end up making the system shorter and more precise. Okay, like there's an old saying from Albert Einstein: if you can't explain things simply, you don't know your material well enough. Right, so you got to be able to explain things simply, precisely. I think that's one of the values of like coming up with a system. So again, I think with every one of Brennan's points, we could have done a deeper dive. I'm going to spare you guys all the notes that I took from that, but yeah, I'm a big fan of everything you said. I'm nodding the whole way through, Brennan. I appreciate that. And we'll see you in Dominican next week. And listen, come up to me, drinks on me, Brennan, at the all-inclusive.
Hey, I really appreciate that. It's nice of you. So kind.
All right.
All right, guys.
See you guys.